orangey looking. For 2006 Michigan stickers. So.
Yeah, that's so funny. So yeah, 73 is the first year. So this is the one with the most issues. So.
But yesterday I never even looked at the miles till I took that picture.
Yeah, that's funny.
Oh, this is broke.
Okay.
Otherwise, I don't.
Yeah, little baby motor.
I didn't even know it had electric start on it till today when I looked down in there. I'm like, well, look at that. There is a starter buried in that.
Yeah, little 440. Yeah, is that funny? But yeah, the tracks look pretty good on it, and oh, see, I thought that said Quebec. Okay, so it's Michigan.
So he gave me the book or what I was printed out.
God, is that funny? It's a little different than the 74. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Now it's a little more boxy, and that got hit pretty bad there.
I don't know. I just don't. I'm
Yeah,
never
no,
gonna
that's
have time with it. You know, the kids were sitting there. We should get it going. I said, honestly, I do not have time.
Everybody, welcome to another video. We have something pretty interesting here in the shop today. This is actually the fourth one I have owned, but this one is pretty unique because it's the first one, not the actual first one, but the first style ever made by Ski-Doo. What is this thing? 1973 Ski-Doo Elite. Now, 1973, Ski-Doo wanted to change the game up a little bit. Instead of what we see today, where you sit in front and behind each other, they came out with a twin track, side-by-side, rear-mounted motored snowmobile. And it had a cool feature to it, a cigarette lighter, a tachometer, a speedometer, fuel gauge. I mean, this was some cool stuff in 1973. Now we actually have another one here, a 1974, and they did do some changes. This was kind of the first test one they came out with, and it had some issues. And in 1974, the one behind us, they actually tried to fix a few things, and that didn't quite work. So from 75 to 77, they quit the Elite. And in 1978, they came out with a whole new style, a little more boxy. It was liquid cooled. It had a little better seats to it. From 78 to 1980, they made this yellow Elite. And then in 1981, they came out with a black style, pretty much exact same thing as the yellow one. And then in 1982, they changed the steering style a little bit. The Elite didn't sell too good. Nobody wanted it. It was kind of slow. It was bulky. It was big compared to what was coming out. And in 2004, Ski-Doo decided to announce an anniversary edition Vortex style Elite, and it was killer. It's super cool. It was a limited production number, but like the old style Elites, they just didn't sell too good. So that is the end of the Elite story from Ski-Doo. Now, actually, a couple of weeks ago, Supercar Blondie reached out to me and she wanted a video on our 1974 Elite. So we made a quick 30-second video on it, and it's over 9 million views now. So the Elite has gained some traction a couple of decades late, but a lot of people are starting to get interested in these machines, and we lucked out on finding this one. This is a 73 Elite, and it had some issues. First of all, it is a little boxy. They are air-cooled, and it had, being rear-mounted and air-cooled, it had overheating issues. So if you wanted to take this Elite out when it was, 40 degrees, it wouldn't work. It would just overheat. This Elite's kind of interesting because it's been in a barn for almost 20 years. The last registration on it is 2006, and it being 2025 now, it has sat for quite some time. What I'd like to do is just go around and just show you really quickly the two differences between the 74 and the 73, and then hopefully we can get this thing to run. And fingers crossed, already being January, there is no snow here in Wisconsin, so hopefully a snowstorm will come through and we can go and test this thing out. All right, real quickly, we're going to go over the differences here and what they did in just 1 year to the Elite. If you'd rather skip it and just see if we can get this thing to run, there's going to be a timestamp. But if not, check this out really quick. So 74 here, 73 here. So at a glance, they might look kind of close here, but there is a few differences. So if we back up here, you'll see the 73 is a lot more boxy looking, and in 74, it's a lot more roundy. So I want to show you guys the ID tags here. On the Elite, they sit on the side. So this one, it might be kind of hard to read, but it says December of 1972. Okay, so that's on the 73. And then we go over here to the 74, and it's going to say, let me zoom in here. It's going to say December of 1973. So literally a 1 year difference here. This one I got from the original owner, and they bought it for their nursery in northern Wisconsin. And this is the video that, or the snowmobile that Supercar Blondie wanted to see. This thing should probably be in a museum, but I still like to drive it around. The last registration was 1984. Check that out. Like I was saying, 73, a little more boxy. 74, a little more roundy. So what happened here is when they dropped these 440 motors in here, being rear mounted, especially in a snowmobile and this thick, and you have two people sitting in front of you, there isn't much wind to come at you. So basically what happened here is you can see the 73, they have these weird looking vents, but if you look dead on, the problem you have here is there's no way for it to really be scooped. You can kind of see that. So in 74, they changed the vent style so more wind can try to come at it. There you go. So instead of sideways where the wind is just gonna rush right by it, this goes straight into it, which is kind of nice. So that helped a little bit. It didn't help enough though. So what they did too, we're gonna open up the engine bay here. As you can see, same motor, so that's a 440 in there, but that's it, you know, the vent comes in, look at it, it's not even connected to the motor, and then you got your vent out. Okay, let's go over to the 74. You can see the vent style's changed, and we're gonna open this up, and that's the first thing you're probably gonna notice is they added this big thing here. So actually these vents do work where these don't really do anything. You have your vent coming in that way, and you can see they made that big scoop there too. Try to force the air in, and then it's gonna come out through this weird looking shield thing. Again, no shield on this one. So the air comes in, goes through the cylinders, into this box, out the vent. Whereas the 74, like I said, it's not even connected. You see this a lot on these 74s. The air comes in, it kind of just stays all in here, and it doesn't really escape that good. You also notice here that the 73 has like a built-in fuel area, where the 74, you have to open the back of the Elite to fill it up. Not really the end of the world, but, you know, kind of interesting. They did come out with snow flaps on these, where the 73 didn't have anything like that. And then we'll go ahead and we'll go to the front here. The dashes are almost the same. Here's the 74. This one only has 1,400 miles on it. And what the previous owner did on this one is they added a cylinder temp gauge here, which was super smart. So this actually keeps temperature of your cylinders so that you don't overheat. Here's your cigarette lighter right here. You push that in. You have your your headlights here and your choke knob here, and then obviously electric start, kill switch there, brake, high beam, throttle here, and then you have your gear shifter down there. They also did put in heated handle grips. These did not come normally on here. Huge difference though, it really helps. And then you'll see here, they actually went to like a bucket style where the 73 has this interesting, very, very interesting like clip system. Basically what you have to do is you have to get these clips into here and then you got to twist it and it locks it in place. Very strange, not really sure why they went that route. There's a grab handle down here. The 74 over there does not have the grab handle. They both do have seat belts. This one is buried, it's underneath there. Other than that, shifter knob, they both have these grab handles. There's the grab handle on the 74. Same gauges. Somebody pointed out that they thought those were like Ford gauges or something. I'm not really sure. And then you can see here they kind of raised this up too. Not sure what's up with that, where the 74 is not raised. The yellow and the black ones had radios in them. So that's kind of cool. The 73 and 74 never came with that. Where the cigarette lighter should be, there's a cork, so that's missing. And then you have your choke and then your headlights. And this one only has 340 miles on it. So that's kind of what we were going back to in the beginning here. This one's a little beat up. And you can see there's like a, kind of a dent there, and cracked fiberglass all around it. I think that's part of the reason why these things really did fail, is just because they're so bulky. If you see one in person, you'll just be like, wow, that's almost like a mini snowcat. But other than that, that is really all there is to the differences in 1 year. So this came out, they thought they had it down pat, didn't have it down pat, and they realized there was a lot of issues, and then they tried to fix them here. Still had the issues, and that's when they took all those years off to try to redevelop it. I'll try to find some pictures of my 78 that I had. You can see that, they're liquid cooled and different vents. And my 81, actually, another person put another vent on it. They just overheat. They're so bad with overheating. So if you ever come across one of these and you live in a snowy state, I would definitely recommend getting one. They are so hard to find. There wasn't enough made of them, in my opinion. Let's see, 1973 when this came out, this was $3,000, which is equivalent in 2025. I thought the math was like 21,000 or something. So it was either get a car in 1973 or get a snowmobile. And most people went with the car over the snowmobile. So without further ado, we did do our little checks. Hopefully you guys stuck around and saw those differences. Pretty cool. I love snowmobile history because you can just see what failed and what didn't. And the Elite, unfortunately, was a fail in the snowmobile industry. Maybe Ski-Doo will bring him back. I don't know. We don't really get enough snow nowadays, but who knows? So without further ado, why don't you say, I'll pull this thing back out so we got some room to work. And we'll go ahead, we'll pull that carb off and see if that motor's got compression. The car's probably gonna have to be rebuilt. The tank is pretty gross. I did open this up. You can maybe see down in there, there is some fluid in there, so we'll have to clean out this tank. And oh yeah, you can smell it, smells terrible. And we'll see if we can't get this thing to run. The only other thing I really did notice was the drive cogs are looking pretty rough. So maybe we can get a test run out of them, but those are just gonna disintegrate. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So why don't you say, let's pull this thing out and let's see if we can't get it to run. All right, before we pull this tank out, I just wanted to express one concern with the 73s and 74 Elites. They did change this in, of course, the later ones when they redesigned it. But the 73 and 74 Elite, let me start out by saying the 73, 74, 77 through 82 Elite pretty much have the same gas tank. Since it's twin tracks, there's 2 tracks on each side, and there's like a cave here in the middle. And basically the tank, to get as much room as they could and stability, they made the tank go down into this cave or crease or whatever you want to call it. So it stops the tank from, with the straps in here, stops the tank from kind of moving around, and you gain a little bit of gas space. The problem you have with this is these tanks now being over 50 years old, and we see it quite a bit in the Ski-Doo Elite Club. These tanks are so brittle, especially if they sat outside in a barn, whatever. They are super brittle. So if you're gonna try to force these out, the chances of them cracking are very high. Then you're screwed because they don't make a tank. You gotta make your own. I had a 74 Elite with a 503 Ski-Doo motor in it, and it had a custom aluminum tank in it because these tanks just crack up the second you try to force them out or start shoving or whatever. So you have to be super careful when pulling these tanks out. So to do that, you either have to pull the intake here because of these studs, because when you try to bring it up, that hump we're talking about, it wants to kind of, stay in there really tight on each corner, and you're gonna force it out and you're either gonna crack it or do something you don't wanna do. So you either gotta pull all these studs out, or you gotta loosen up the motor, loosen up the exhaust, take off the belt, and you gotta try to shimmy the motor forward so that you can lift this thing out as best as you can. So I think what we're gonna try to do is just take this off with these studs. This tank feels pretty good, but you can't ever be too sure. I mean, just looking at these things, like I said, over 50 years old, they're gonna crack. So we're gonna try just taking this off. We'll try shimmying it out, and if it doesn't work, we're gonna end up having to slide this motor forward and safely get this tank out. There's one. And there's 2. And let's take a peek at those pistons. Okay. That one looks a little rough, but might just be some gunk on there. Not too bad. Okay, I just want to point something out here. This is my first 73 that I've owned, and actually the first 73 in person I've ever seen. I've just seen pictures online. Going back to the beginning of the video, when we were talking about differences, this one I'm coming to find out it still has a lot more differences. So obviously we have these built over this ledge here, where the 74 I was just looking at is kind of just straight up. So the 74 is the one where you have to remove as much as you can on the intake here and pull it up, and it's still kind of a nightmare, but you can do it without pulling that motor. It does help if you kind of shimmy it forward like we were talking about. This 73, I'm coming to find out, is definitely a lot more different. So since everything's kind of built up all around it, there's no way to squeak it by. Even if I loosen this motor and tilt it back, it's still not going to give us enough room. So what I think has to be done here is I got to pull the motor out of this thing, and then we take this kind of this bigger end here where the fill is, swing it towards the drive side, and then the skinnier part kind of like pull up. So if that makes sense, so it's kind of like get it in, twist it up, and pull it out. That's the only way I can think to get this thing out. So the other bummer is I really wanted to kind of leave this thing as dirty as we could and take it for a little ride. But since all this is pulled out, it's only going to make sense to power wash the entire thing. So I think that's going to be our next 3 steps. Pull the motor, pull the gas tank, and then power wash this thing. So let's get to it. All right, that was fun. Can we do that again? I'm just kidding. It wasn't that bad, actually. I had to do the same thing on my 74 probably 2 years ago. I had to do crank seals to it and didn't have to do nearly all of that, what we just had to do right now to clean the tank out. Like I said, I removed the studs on the intake and literally the tank came right out pretty much. It was a little hard, but not like this. So just wanted to show you guys the inside of the Elite and then the parts, and then we'll clean the tank up, pressure wash, clean up the motor and stuff, and then we'll get it in and see if we can't get this thing to run. Yeah, so not too bad. There's no really mouse nest anywhere that I can see. It's just a little dirty. And like I said, just kind of figured now's the time to probably clean this out. This Elite probably won't be staying with me. Probably sell this one. So there's the muffler there. Actually, you can see some of the original paint still on there. That's pretty awesome, that silver. It pretty much just dumps out. So you guys can see it here. Dumps out right there onto that track. So it's just a smoky nightmare for the passenger. But case there, trans case. It's a really long case. All the original paint still on there. Very clean, honestly. As you can see, it looks like snakeskin in there. Well, that's the fiberglass. And 77 through 82 had metal bodies on them, and they like to rot out. These, you don't see that, obviously. So I just wanted to point this out really quick. Check this out. These side markers here on the side, I don't know, that Ski-Doo must have put that off another sled or something. It looks like they actually take bulbs, but to my knowledge, they never had them. You can see them up here too. All right, so real quickly, the binder that originally came with the 73 Elite, the original owner of this gentleman, he kept such good documentation of this thing. And inside this binder, it's a little beat up. Inside this binder, it's got like the original owner's manual and like the catalog and stuff from 1973. And I came across the Elites and I just wanted to read how Ski-Doo announced this thing. So basically, here, I'll show you the page first. So there's the Elite saying brand new Elite 1973 side by side. And here's what Ski-Doo had to say about it. New Elite 1973 side by side. Ski-Doo has always been the leader in snowmobile innovations. Well, here's the latest breakthrough, but only a limited number available. Elite 1973 side by side seating for a whole new way of snowmobiling. Elite 1973 gives you super comfort and performance, mile after mile. It is a sports car on the snow. A great trail handler that comes packed with Ski-Doo guts. Check the features. 440 low compression engine equipped with fixed high-speed jet carburetor, roll bar, padded dash, two 15-inch tracks, ski-equipped shock absorbers, and carbide runners. Fiberglass body resin forced with steel bracing. Now that's guts. Elite 1973. Get on and ride, side by side. And they had to put a picture on the inside next to the seats, and it says, wide and handsome. Elite features ample seating and legroom. Side by side, you'll cruise down the trail and total new experience in snowmobiling. So just wanted to share a little bit of that with you. Pretty cool how these old timers usually kept a lot of cool stuff with this stuff because, you know, it was kind of like their main thing. You know, they really enjoyed it, and it's kind of a dying breed. A lot of people, you know, a lot of the stuff's online now and nobody really collects this stuff. So kind of cool to come across original stuff. All right, let's get back to work. All right, we basically got to take all of our parts now and put them back in. I won't bore you guys because you already saw me take it all apart kind of in little segments there. So what I'll do is I'll cut back once everything's back in and we'll do the fuel lines together. So I will be right back. That thing recording, I'm not done yet. Boom, just like that, we are done. So everything's put back together. We're gonna do the fuel lines now. And so if you guys remember when I took this off, this isn't correct. So normally what happens is you have this metal piece here and you screw it down into the pickup area. Well, what happened here is it looks like somebody, bring it in here, looks like somebody broke that off once upon a time and they put a hose around it with hose clamps and it's kind of jank. And they also glued it in there, which kind of sucks. So all I'm gonna do is just try to clean this up, I guess as best as I can. I don't wanna pull this all apart and maybe break this a little more. So I think just for now, I'll clean it up and this won't be a permanent solution. I'll fix this obviously better, but just for our test run, we'll see if we can get it to go. So let me clean this up and then we'll put some fuel lines on. All right, we got a battery hooked up. I took off the lid just so, you know, if it's hanging up here and if it does start up, you know, it's gonna fall down and crash or whatever. So I just took off the lid so you guys can get a better look. Yeah, let's see what happens. Pull his choke knob out. stiff. All right, see what happens. I think I see the field moving. I think I gotta get this knob out farther. Oh. Let's try that. Oh. Let's try no choke now. Obviously going to readjust it after it's ran for a while so you can check the plug. Let's check the restart. Wow, not bad. I mean, like I was trying to say there, probably going to have to obviously retune it after it's ran a while and check the plugs. You can read the plugs and stuff, but not bad. Honestly, got to tighten this hose clamp up. I don't know how I let that slip, but not bad. Honestly, pretty happy with the results there. Ooh, got to open the door. It stinks. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. I have the door open now because it stinks in here. Whew. I gotta work in here the rest of the day. So, pretty happy with the Elite. You know, that's a pretty long slumber, almost 20 years of sleeping, and it sounds pretty good. Obviously, we'll get it out in the snow if we ever get any. And probably the next episode, what we'll do is we'll probably replace those drive cogs or the drive sprockets, and maybe some of the bogey wheels. Some of the bogey wheels look kind of bad, but we'll figure out the track stuff and then pray for snow. We can hopefully take it out, because right now it's not looking too good. It's well, more grass showing than snow. So everybody, just want to say thank you. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you watching my videos. I don't know, let's pray for snow and hopefully we can get this thing out. All right, thanks everybody. All right, we can't end the video without trying the cigarette lighter. Ugh. Definitely the first thing to fix on the next video.